Hi everyone, it's Duncan from PJ Library. You know, at PJ Library, we have such a wide variety of family subscribers. People come from all different cultures and experiences and backgrounds. There are some PJ Library families where every family member is Jewish, and we have some families where some members are Jewish and some are not. And so I thought what might be interesting for today's Facebook Live would be to give you sort of the experience for those non-Jewish members of your family, what it's like coming to a synagogue. I know that a lot of things that on the Jewish calendar can be a little intimidating if you've never experienced them before, for Jews and non-Jews alike. So one of those things happens every week, sometimes every day, is going to a synagogue. So today we're going to walk through a synagogue and give you a little tour of what it looks like and what you can expect when you go to a service at a synagogue. Feel free to ask questions along the way, and I'll try my best to see them and answer them. And of course, I'll try, while I'm doing everything, to hold the camera as well. So first thing is, when you walk in, and I'm actually in my synagogue now, it's a building I know very well, so I thought it would be perfect for the tour. When you walk in, probably want to go to either the main sanctuary or a chapel. For today, we're going to go to a chapel in the synagogue because it's a little bit smaller and easier for me to walk around while holding the phone so that you can see everything in sort of a smaller, more enclosed area. So when we first come in, a lot of synagogues have a place where you can pick up a kippah if you don't have one. You may know it by its name, yarmulke, which is actually Yiddish, and from a couple other languages it was borrowed from. So in this synagogue here, in my synagogue, we've got a little place where you can pick up a kippah or a yarmulke. We also have, it's not out today because there was not a service today, but or not a Torah service up here in the chapel today, is a place to pick up a tallit. And this is a prayer shawl. You've probably seen one of these before. Now, one difference between the kippah and the prayer shawl is that in a lot of congregations and a lot of synagogues, you will see men and women, everybody wearing, if it's the custom of the synagogue, everybody wearing a kippah. The tallit, the prayer shawl, is something that is just done when the Torah is being taken out on special occasions, and is just worn by people who've had their bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. So again, the kippah is something that, if it's the tradition of the synagogue, that everybody would wear, and the tallit something that you would wear after you've had your bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. And a lot of times the family will give the bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah a tallit as a special present just for that occasion. So I actually brought a kippah with me, so I'm going to put on mine before we go inside. And some synagogues have the tradition where you have it on whenever you're in the synagogue building, and some maybe just when you're in the service itself. The best thing to do is look around and see what other people are doing. You may see that all the men are wearing a kippah. You may see that everybody's wearing a kippah. You may see that the men are wearing a kippah and the women have a different kind of head covering. That happens sometimes too. So the best thing to do is look around and see what other people are doing, and then ask. Asking is the best way to find out what the custom for that synagogue is. So we're going to go on in, and before I open the door, I'm going to grab a siddur, a prayer book. Bring that with me too so I can show you some things in there. So I'm going to open the doors here. Take you right in. And I'm going to do my best to turn the camera around too, because this is a beautiful chapel, and I'll give you a little view of the whole thing here. See, it's not huge, it's not the big sanctuary, but it's a little bit easier for us to walk around and show you a couple things today. So, you've got your kippah on, your tallit, if you are Jewish and had your bar mitzvah or your bat mitzvah, and it's a Torah service. And you can come in, take your siddur, your prayer book. Obviously, there's nothing going on in here today, but I wanted to show you something in the siddur here. Now, it may look backwards on your screen, but I'm going to show you the siddur is a book that opens from right to left. So you'll notice it's backwards from the way that PJ Library books are, which are in English from left to right. And in a lot of the prayer books, a lot of the siddurim, you'll see both English and Hebrew. So a lot of the prayer books will have the Hebrew prayers, and then the English translation, and sometimes they'll even have the transliteration, which is the Hebrew phonetically written out in, or somewhat phonetically written out in English. So, for example, on the PGA Library blog, when you see us write the word mitzvah, well, that's not an English word, that's a Hebrew word, but instead of putting it in Hebrew letters, which can get confusing when you go back and forth between Hebrew and English fonts, we write it in English, and that's called a transliteration when we spell it, M-I-T-Z-V-A-H. That's a transliteration from the original Hebrew to make it easy to follow along. So a lot of the prayer books, the Sidurim, which is the plural for Sidur, will have the transliteration as well, which makes it a lot easier to follow along. Sometimes they'll even have hints about where to stand up and where to sit down. But again, the best thing to do is watch what everybody does. And when the whole congregation stands, that's a good sign that you should stand. When the whole congregation is seated, good sign for you to be seated. You can also watch the rabbi or the cantor or whoever else is leading the service at any given time. Usually, they will be pretty good about giving you that instruction just in case. At some point during the service, if you're here for a Torah service, the Torahs, or one, will be taken out, one or more. So I'm going to take you up to the ark where the Torahs are kept. So again, I'll try to keep the camera as still as possible here. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the comments there, and hopefully they'll pop up while I'm showing you inside the ark here. So the Torah service is a section of the service in which one of the Torahs is taken out, and we're very fortunate here at this synagogue. This is the chapel, and we have 4 Torahs currently right here in the chapel, and we have a couple others in the main sanctuary itself. So this is a Torah, and again, the writing's going to be probably backwards on your screen, but it's got these wonderful decorations on it to make it look beautiful. It's got this cloth cover on it. It's got these crowns that cover the rods here that hold the scrolls. So let me tilt up there. So these are just just decorative is really what they're for, decorative covers for those rods that hold the scrolls, the 2 scrolls underneath. I can lift this up a little. I'm not going to take one out, but I'm going to lift it up a little so you can see the parchment. So that's the parchment there that the Torah is written on. And we don't touch that with our fingers because the oils on your hands might mess up the ink, mess up the parchment. So when we read from the Torah, we actually use a separate pointer. This one doesn't have it on here, but this one does. So this is can you see it there? This is the yad. I'm going to just put it down for a second so I can lift it up and show you. Yad means hand in Hebrew, and this is... And actually, some of these look like a hand. You can see the little pointer. And this is what you use. This one's made of metal, and you use to follow along on the Torah in the writing. So this way you don't have to touch the Torah with your actual hand. Oh, Annie has a question. Hi, Annie. Annie lives in Portland. Yes, I'm in Portland here, and I'm at Congregation of Shalom here in Portland, Oregon. So I'm going to put this yad back. Okay, so that's the Torah. So the Torah service, during that portion of the main service, the Torah will be brought out, and in some cases and some holidays, more than one Torah is brought out, and then the Torah service is complete, and the Torah goes back into the ark. I'm going to close this here. One other thing you may have noticed when you walked over, and I'll try to just lean back a little bit here, is the Ner Tamid, that beautiful, in our case, in here, a glass sculpture there, but they could be made of anything, I think. But that light, it looks sort of like I think this one's made to look like a fire, but that light above the ark there is called the Ner Tamid, which is the eternal flame. It's there to represent God's presence is always with us. So I partly wanted to point it out because we happen to have a beautiful Ner Tamid in this chapel here at the synagogue, but also because it's something very common that you will see at most synagogues. And that's basically it. As I mentioned before, the best thing that you can do is follow the example of other people in the congregation and ask questions. Ask questions of the service leader, of the rabbi, of the cantor, because they'll be more than happy to answer those questions and make you feel more comfortable while you're here. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them as comments after the video, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Take care, PJ Library friends. Talk to you soon.